The December air in Sacramento carried the familiar chill of winter, but Mark didn't mind it. He stood outside Golden Auto Plaza, a dealership known for shiny cars, bright lights, and overly confident salesmen. Mark adjusted his old jacket, the same one he had worn for years, and took a deep breath. This wasn't just a shopping trip, it was something deeply meaningful. His daughter Emily had worked hard all year, balancing school and a part-time job, always dreaming of having her own car. This Christmas, Mark wanted to give her something she would never expect. As he stepped into the dealership, conversations paused for a moment. A few salesmen looked him up and down before returning to their jokes and coffee. Mark was used to this kind of reaction. His clothes weren't new, his shoes had creases, and his hair was a little messy from rushing out early. But beneath that worn-out appearance was a man who had spent years saving every spare dollar for this exact moment. "Can I help you?" one salesman finally asked, but his tone had that forced politeness that carried more judgment than sincerity. "I'm looking for a safe, reliable car," Mark said, scanning the rows of vehicles. The salesman nodded half-heartedly and pointed toward the lower-priced section, clearly assuming Mark's budget was tiny. Mark didn't argue. He simply walked among the cars, inspecting them carefully. He opened doors, checked the seats, looked at the dashboard, and read every detail on the window stickers. He wasn't here to impress anyone. He was here to find the right car for Emily. Two other salesmen watched him and laughed quietly. "Probably just browsing," one muttered. "Or hoping we give him a discount he can't afford anyway," the other added. Mark heard them, but he chose to ignore it. He knew who he was, and he knew why he was here. That was enough. He finally stopped by a silver sedan. Clean design, great safety ratings, good mileage. It wasn't flashy, but it was perfect for a responsible teenage girl who valued practicality. Emily had always been that way, smart, focused, never demanding anything expensive. Mark waved at the salesman again. "Can I test drive this one?" "Sure," the man said, still sounding unsure. During the drive, Mark asked genuine questions about maintenance, fuel economy, and long-term reliability. His quiet seriousness made the salesman realize this wasn't a random customer, but he still didn't fully believe Mark would buy something substantial. When they returned, Mark walked around the car once more, taking in every detail. He imagined Emily sitting in the driver's seat on Christmas morning, her eyes widening, her voice trembling with excitement. That picture alone made his heart warm. "I like it," Mark said calmly. "Let's talk inside." The salesmen exchanged amused glances. They assumed he would hesitate, ask for discounts, struggle with credit checks, or walk away. But Mark wasn't here to fail. He was here to fulfill a promise he had made, as a father. Inside the warm, brightly lit office of Golden Auto Plaza, Mark took a seat across from the salesman, who still carried a faint smirk. He typed Mark's name into the computer and casually asked, "So, are you planning to finance, lease, or?" His tone made it clear he assumed financing was the only option. Mark didn't answer immediately. He looked around the room. Photos of smiling customers, posters of holiday deals, and a small Christmas tree sitting near the front desk. He wondered how Emily would react when she saw her very first car sitting in their driveway, wrapped in a big red bow. The thought made him smile to himself. "Actually," Mark said gently, "I'll be paying in full." The salesman paused, blinking a few times. "In full, as in cash?" "Yes, cash." Before the salesman could respond, one of his coworkers leaned over and whispered loud enough for Mark to hear, "Yeah, right." They both chuckled under their breath. Mark didn't say anything. Years of experience, work struggles, unexpected bills, long nights, had taught him patience. Besides, this moment wasn't about proving anything to strangers. It was about Emily. The salesman pushed the financing papers aside and forced a polite smile. "Well, sure. Let me grab the purchase agreement then." Mark nodded. While the salesman left to print the forms, Mark gently placed a thick certified envelope on the table. It had taken him years to save this money, extra shifts, careful budgeting, skipping small luxuries, but every dollar felt worth it. When the salesman returned, he saw the envelope and hesitated. "What's that?" "My payment," Mark said simply. The salesman opened it, and his expression changed instantly. The laughter, the judgment, the assumptions, all vanished. Suddenly, he sat straighter. The other salesmen nearby noticed too. One of them whispered, "Is that real. Another cleared his throat and quickly approached Mark, offering water, then coffee, then asking if he needed anything else. Mark smiled politely. No, thank you. Within minutes, the attitude in the room shifted completely. The salesman became overly helpful, almost nervous, explaining every feature of the car in detail. He even offered to waive a small service fee without Mark asking. But Mark wasn't interested in their sudden respect. He was thinking about Emily. How she always put effort into school, how she never complained when things got tough, how she never asked for anything big even when she really wanted it. He signed the papers carefully, one page at a time. When it was done, the salesman extended his hand eagerly. Congratulations, sir. You picked an excellent car. Mark shook his hand kindly. Thanks. A young employee walked him outside to the delivery area, where the silver sedan was being prepared. The winter sun reflected off the hood, making it gleam softly. Would you like a bow for it? The employee asked. Yes, Mark said. A big red one. He imagined Emily stepping outside on Christmas morning, her eyes widening, her voice catching in surprise. For Mark, that moment would be priceless. He slid into the driver's seat, started the engine, and began the quiet drive home, heart full, hands steady, ready for the best Christmas he had ever given. Christmas morning arrived with a soft layer of frost covering the neighborhood roofs in Sacramento. The city was quiet, wrapped in the peaceful stillness that came only once a year. Mark woke up early, unable to sleep from excitement. He glanced out the window where the silver sedan sat in the driveway, shining beneath the pale winter sun. The big red bow he'd asked for looked perfect. He brewed coffee, warmed up the house, and waited. Emily, still unaware of the surprise waiting outside, came downstairs in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. Morning, Dad, she mumbled sleepily. Merry Christmas, sweetheart, Mark said, smiling warmly. She hugged him, noticing the excitement on his face. You look different today. Happier. Maybe I am, Mark laughed. I have something special for you. For me, Emily blinked in surprise. Dad, you already did so much this year. You didn't have to get anything big. Mark shook his head. This is something you deserve. He handed her a small box wrapped in holiday paper. Emily opened it, expecting maybe jewelry or something sentimental. Instead, she found a car key, simple, silver, with the dealership logo on it. Her eyes widened. Dad, what is this? Come outside with me, he said, his voice thick with emotion. Emily threw on her jacket and followed him to the front door. The moment she stepped outside, she froze. The car gleamed in the driveway, decorated with the giant red bow. Her hand flew to her mouth. Dad, no way, this can't be real. Mark chuckled softly. It's real. She rushed down the walkway, running her fingers gently across the hood as if she was afraid it would disappear. Tears filled her eyes. You got me a car. Dad, how? Why? Because you earned it, he said, walking toward her. You've worked so hard, stayed responsible, and never asked for anything. You deserve something that makes your life easier. Something that keeps you safe. Emily threw her arms around him, holding on tightly. Thank you. Thank you so much. This is the best thing anyone has ever given me. Mark hugged her back, feeling the weight of every sacrifice melt into that moment. All the long hours, all the saving, all the quiet nights spent planning, it had all led here. Come on, he said gently. Take it for a spin. Emily wiped her eyes and climbed into the driver's seat. The interior smelled new, the dashboard lights glowing softly. She turned the key, and the engine hummed smoothly. Mark sat beside her as she backed out slowly, nerves turning into excitement. They drove through quiet streets decorated with Christmas lights, Emily smiling so brightly it lit up the whole car. Dad, I still can't believe this. Mark looked at her with pride. I can. You deserved it the entire time. As they returned home, Emily parked carefully and turned to him. I'm going to make you proud, Dad. I promise. You already do, he replied. And in that peaceful winter morning, surrounded by warmth, gratitude, and love, Mark knew this Christmas would be remembered forever. Not because of the car, but because of what it symbolized, a father's quiet devotion and a daughter's heartfelt joy.